She was a So You Think You Can Dance contestant in season 5 and an all-star in season 12. Who am I talking about? You're about to find out.
Welcome to Popcorn Talk, featuring movie discussion, news, and interviews. Popcorn Talk. We talk movie.
And I'm Kristyn Burtt, and this is Dance Network on Popcorn Talk, and I am so excited to introduce our guest today. As I said, she was a So You Think You Can Dance contestant in season 5 and an all-star in season 12. Right over here is Kayla Radomski. Hi.
Hi, how you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm fantastic.
This is my So You Think You Can Dance day because I was
Okay.
just at Academy
Yes.
watching all of the callbacks and everything else. It's exciting.
It's so exciting. I remember that feeling. It's crazy.
What is that feeling like when you go? I mean, you were in Vegas, I'm sure, at the time,
Yes.
season 5.
It's a lot. It's overwhelming. It's a little bit of excitement, a little bit of you're scared out of your mind because you're putting yourself out there for something that we all really wanted, and you just never know. Your fate is in the hands of the judges sitting at the table.
It is nerve-wracking, and I think everyone's so young. I mean, they're 18 to 30 this year. You were 18 when you auditioned for the show.
Yeah.
Do you realize how scary it was, or is it because you're 18 and you're just like, this is my first big, huge audition, I'm just going to go for it?
I think I realized how scary it was, but I mean, I grew up in the competition convention world, so we were always auditioning in front of people and kind of putting ourselves out there. So I was ready and trained for it, but it was still a whole different world. Live TV show is completely different than, a convention.
It's a different beast. It's a different beast that people don't really think about. The live aspect, there is no redo. That's it.
No, not at all. And kind of just is what it is.
Can we go back to your original audition? I know you auditioned in Denver. You're from Colorado.
Yes.
Lots of great dancers coming out of Colorado.
Yes, they produce some incredible dancers.
I know. I've been I feel like this past year, Mandy Moore, the choreographer, Kristen McQuaid's out of Colorado. I'm like, who else? Britt Stewart. I talked to.
Yeah. Britt's amazing.
Yeah.
So
I don't know what
us.
you guys are drinking in the water, but there's a lot of talent.
Yeah, they're giving us something that we don't know about.
All right, so tell me what that audition was like in Denver. I know your grandparents were in the audience, and it's such a, it made me cry even going back and watching your audition.
Well, it's so funny too because my grandfather was there, and he cries on camera. It's in the audition, and he never cries. He's such a tough guy, and always has it together. And he started crying, and I was like, oh my gosh. They had fans of their own when I was on the show. Everyone was like, how are Grandma and Grandpa? And
that's the best.
But the audition was nerve-wracking. It was so nerve-wracking.
There was no audience, too, in yours.
No, it was empty in there. Except for
Why?
the few of us auditioning. I have no idea.
Because usually it's packed.
It was kind of, I guess it was a random city, I guess. They had just added Denver that season. I got lucky. But yeah, it was quiet. I didn't know Nigel, Sonia, or Mary. So I was literally just like a stranger to them as they were to me. And I had no idea what to expect.
Oh, but you had an incredible audition. I mean, it was funny. It's funny going back now and listening to their comments. I mean, Sonia just loved what she did. She's in the back, and you moved from the back, and and there's Nigel giving you comments of all those angles. I just loved them, but they were loving you from day one.
I mean, I had really great support from them, and they were always helpful and always gave me stuff that I could work on, and also really nice things were said, and I was very, very, very grateful for that.
And so then you get to Vegas, and I just was watching this today, so it's all kind of fresh in my mind.
Okay.
I'm there's 100 kids. It was 175 your season. That's a lot.
There were a lot of us.
It's a lot.
Yeah.
And I think what was interesting, too, was the fact that there's a lot of energy. These kids were bouncing off the walls at lunchtime today, and I was thinking, save your energy for Friday when you're really tired.
I have no idea what's coming. I know. That's a long week.
And I think if going back, because it's, we have to go back a couple seasons of what that week is actually like, because we had the kids last season. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of late nights. There's that group dance where you guys are up all night long.
Yeah. I think we were up until 3 or 4 in the morning, and then we had to be back down at 7 or something like that. It's long nights, long days. I remember the first day when we went in and they basically had us all do our solos, and we sat there and watched every single person dance, and you're like, oh my goodness.
175 solos is a lot.
It's a lot, yeah.
And
so many talented people. You're half the time you're like, oh, how did I make it here? You know?
Yeah, I mean, but it shows that you're in the right place. And I was saying this to some of the contestants today. They're like, I'm so overwhelmed, but I'm like, you're in the right place. And that's what you have to keep on focusing in on, is like doing the work. That's it.
Right. That's all you can do, is you have to focus on what you're there to do and the task at hand, and just focus on that, and don't think about, well, this could happen or that could happen, because then you just start getting mixed up in your head, you know?
Yeah, and you know, this year they're doing a group number, and I could spot like, watch. You know, the kids that are like comfortable and confident and just not letting this overwhelm them.
Right.
So what did you have to tell yourself like all that week?
Well, my family always told me, just, you know, always focus on what you're doing, and don't let any of the chitter chat or anything that's going on in your head get in the way. You know, you're here to do something, do what you're being asked, and that's all they need from you, you know, and always put your best foot forward.
So when you finished that week, did you feel like I made top 20, or did you feel like I have no idea? I mean, how encouraging were they?
They were encouraging. I got really great critiques, but I still, like, I never assume anything. So I was like, I still don't know. I remember Green Mile week, and I was sitting there, and I think there were 3 girls that went before me that all got into the top 20. So when I was walking back, I was like, oh, I'm going to be the one that's like, okay, we're so sorry, Kayla. You know? So I was just sitting there, and they're like, oh my God, let's get this over with.
You know? Your stomach must have been in knots.
Oh, it's a crazy feeling, you know. It's one of the worst feelings, because you're just like, oh, you have no idea.
You have no control over it at that point. Like, you did your job, and then they could just be like, we have too many contemporary dancers or too many jazz dancers or whatever that is. That could knock you out. I want to ask on timing, because everyone's season is so different when it comes to Green Mile. Sometimes it's right at the end of the week and they find out, which I think they're doing this week. And other times they've gone home and then they get a text. How did yours play out?
We did Vegas week, and then I think we went home for like a couple weeks, and then they brought us all back to LA the week that our first episode, the first auditions aired. So we watched it, and then I think Green Mile was the next day.
Oh my God. Yeah. The whole time I'd be like, I can't even focus on auditions.
No, you can't. You're sitting there watching it, and you're like, oh my goodness, oh gosh. And then tomorrow your face kind of like, well, let's see if you're actually going to be on this show multiple weeks or not, you know.
And, you know, your audition was shown, but a lot of times we see contestants where like, wait, we didn't even see them during the audition round.
Yeah.
I always think that those contestants start at a disadvantage, because the fans haven't been able to sort of gravitate or look up their name and find out where they are and who they're about.
Right. Well, you start building. It's all about a fan base, and you know, your supporters are the ones that are keeping you on the show or not. And so I think it's great when they do get to see your audition and kind of see your backstory, because they can either, I mean, they can fall in love with you or they can not fall in love with you,
right.
You know, and that's kind of, I think it's very helpful to have them be able to see your history and where you're coming from.
Yeah, and you know, those packages too, they help, because you had your grandparents. They helped you build a fan base.
Oh my gosh, they had their own fans. They had their own fan base.
So great. How did they pick you? This is the other thing. How did they pick you for the packages? Because I know I went to the LA auditions for the initial call, and they had certain people that they were already looking at. Some of them are legacies. They've had siblings that have been on the show.
Okay.
Of course, they're going to do a feature package. But they had pulled a couple other people, and there's one girl, I'm like, she's so interesting. I love her. I want to know more about her. But I'm like, where did they find her, you know?
I have no idea what made them decide to come to my house. I just remember us getting a call saying, are you and your family available to have filming come to your house? And I was like, oh God, guys. And I was like, Mom, you have to talk on camera. And she's like, I don't want to talk on camera.
This is you, not me.
And I like watch my grandma and grandpa's interviews back, and it's like my grandma's like sitting there like really uncomfortable and trying to talk on camera, and it's so funny.
But you always have that. That's what I love.
Well, I look back at some of my interviews and stuff, and I'm like, what the heck was I doing? Like, you know.
I was watching last night, and I did a little Instagram story, and I didn't say who it was, but you knew right away. And you were like, no.
It's so funny.
It's your first week.
Oh, my gosh. When they gave me the samba, and I didn't even know what it was.
Well, let's talk about that samba. I mean, here you are, first week. You're not a ballroom dancer.
Right.
No training, correct, at the time? And you were great. Louis Van Amstel, who, come on, he is such a technician. I don't know if people realize like what a technician he is.
Yes.
He's a stickler.
Yes.
He's not like an easy like, just do this and whatever, you can just fudge that. No, he wants it perfect.
Yeah. Well, and he knew my partner Max. He had either, I don't know if he trained Max or he knew Max. So like they already had that relationship. So I was just like the girl who had no idea what was going on. Like, all right, let's do this, you know. And It was tough. It was really tough. It's a foreign thing, and ballroom is so completely opposite of what we grow up training and doing. It's just like, okay, so I'm just gonna fake it till I make it, you know.
Yeah.
And Max and I would stay up late, and I was lucky that he was a ballroom dancer, so he kind of knew how to train me and assist me in that. But it was fun. I loved it, and you know, it turned out really great. I got to wear Louis' Halloween costume. That's what I ended up wearing.
That's what you wore?
That pink dress is Louis' Halloween dress. Yes.
That's amazing.
Yeah. But it was fun. Like, I love ballroom, and I love watching it, and you know, I get to go and play at Dancing with the Stars now and pretend like I'm a ballroom dancer, and it's just awesome.
It really is. And you know what was funny, going back, because they have all the judges' comments after that samba.
Yes.
They're all like, Kayla, and poor Max is like,
He's like, what about me?
What about me?
And
Exactly.
yeah.
But they were saying, you know, you supported her so well. It was great.
Yeah,
And that's what made it so wonderful.
Yeah, he had a huge hand in that, because without him, it would not have been what it was. You know, he was a strong ballroom dancer, and I'm super grateful that I had him.
You know, I was going down the cast list, because it's always like trying to remember, like, what season was everyone? And you guys had a great cast. And I think, you know, oftentimes everyone's like season four. Like, everyone focuses in on that because there's so many superstars from that. But I was like writing down, I'm like, even people like Tony Bellissimo, who got voted out first, has had an incredible career beyond So You Think You Can Dance. Yeah. You know, the fact that Philip Shabib, Aid was on the season, Jonathan Platero, Melissa Sandvig, whom I love. I mean,
love Melissa.
she's so great.
She's the
Jeanette,
sweetest.
and of course Janine won. Brandon, you had a great cast.
We had such a strong cast that it was like anyone could have taken it. Everyone was so talented in what they did and worked really hard. It was a good group to be around, to, you know, be training and putting yourself through it with.
Yeah, I mean, you really go through the trenches with something like that. Yeah. And, you know, I always wonder, because you lost Max pretty early on in the season. He was gone after a couple of weeks. What is that like? Because you've gone through, like, you know, the initiation part together, and then you're like, there goes my partner.
It's kind of devastating, because you start building this relationship, and then, you know, you're forced into a new relationship, and that's supposed to be as strong as the other ones that have been going for weeks and weeks, you know. And I got blessed because Capono is absolutely amazing, and our chemistry and our work ethic together just really worked. So I feel like I got very lucky with him. You know, but it's hard, you know, to create something with strangers basically each week, and then choreographers that you're not used to working with.
Right. And you guys were there during the Mia Michaels heyday. So
we sure were.
I know. Let's talk about addiction, because that is still one that people hold. Like, it sets the bar for a lot of other choreographers and contestants and dancers that come through. And, you know, Nigel will still always talk about Mia Michaels' pieces. They're still you know, embedded in his brain, even, you know, years later. What was it like working with Mia Michaels?
It's really tough. It's tough. She is one of the biggest sticklers. You know, she wants it to be exact. She has a vision. She's a brilliant artist, and she sees exactly what she wants. And so until you give her what she wants, she's going to keep pushing and pushing and pushing. And it's, you know, she has this way of breaking down a dancer to, like, where you're just literally just a human, and you're standing there and you have nothing but you to give.
It's
and
raw.
It's really raw, and that's where I think that's where the magic starts happening. So she got us down to that point, and then it was literally before we went on stage, we were literally like, let's just do this. Like, we don't know what's gonna happen. We literally were like,
I don't know.
You know, and I remember the first thing I did, I say this all the time, is I didn't even look at the judges after we performed. I found Mia out in the audience, and I was like, what is she doing? Because you can always tell. And she was crying, and I was like, oh God, okay.
Thank God.
I did it, okay.
I moved her.
Yeah. But that piece is something that I will hold dearly to me forever, you know.
I'd keep it on my dance reel forever. Like,
oh
even in the back,
gosh.
I don't care.
Yeah, because it was so surprising how many lives that it reached out to and that it touched, and the emails that we were getting. And to this day, I still get people writing me like, you helped me with an addiction or this or that. And it's really touching to be able to use your art to affect other people's lives like that.
And you're 18 too. I think that's another thing that people sometimes forget. We're just like, oh, you know, they're on there and they're dancers and they're great. But at 18, you haven't built up all of your, like, emotional, like, tapped into the vulnerability. So she's really working hard to get you guys to a place to be able to perform it the way she wants.
Right. Well, and then with a topic about addiction that I never dealt with or had anyone that dealt with it. So it was literally exploring and researching and finding a way to portray that without offending anyone or anything like that, and making it really true to what it's supposed to be. It was deep, and Capono had someone that he knew that dealt with addiction, so it was already deep within him. So it was a whole process, and I think we got very, very lucky and blessed to be able to perform that and do that for her.
She's so missed on the show. I get asked every season, like, do you think Mia Michaels will come back? I'm like, she's off on the East Coast doing having this amazing, wonderful career.
Yeah.
And I think, I think for her too, she did what she wanted to do on the show. And I'm not sure that she wants to come back, and I don't think she thinks she can top it. Maybe, it's it's a section of her life. That's how I interpret it. I don't know this for sure.
Right. I mean, she did so many epic numbers. I just and I'm sure if she came back, she would do 6,000 more epic numbers. I mean, it's just she's a brilliant artist, and I think that any dancer who gets a chance to work with her goes through an experience that is unlike any other.
Yeah, I mean, you can see it in the dances and the level of emotion she achieves from everyone that's performing in her work. What about other choreographers that really stood out to you that season?
Well, Sonia was really tough because she's like, go, 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 go. And she doesn't stop. And she, she's really good. She's super supportive, and she creates a really family oriented space, but she will drill you into the ground and keep going and going. She's like, no, your body's you're capable of more than your head thinks. Keep going, keep going. And she's kind of ingrained that into me. And, when I go out and teach and stuff, that's one of the things I say. I'll run the dancers a lot, and I'll be like, you are so much more capable of doing something that your head is telling you can't if you just keep pushing through. So that's something that stuck with me from Sonia. So she was super tough. Doriana Sanchez, the disco was
I love Dory.
She is the sweetest thing in the world, but the disco may be one of the hardest things I ever had to do on that show.
The amount of lifts that Dory does in her dances.
Oh my gosh.
And not easy lifts. We're not just talking yay, here's a little press lift. I mean, they are hardcore, spinning, twirling.
Yes. Well, and Brandon was my partner.
Yes.
So he's strong and amazing, but I'm also inches taller than him. So he's trying to throw this long-limbed woman around, and we did not get through that number once until we performed it live on the show.
Oh my God, were you just biting?
Yes, dress rehearsal, I think we fell out of a lift or something, and we were just like, oh my God, I don't know what's gonna happen.
I'd be biting my tongue the whole time. Just get through this, gritting my teeth.
Yeah. So that was really tough. The disco is much harder than it looks.
Yeah, and I kind of hope that she wasn't on last season with the kids, but I'm hoping they bring her back into the fold with the adults. Because it's so funny, because you go through certain weeks and, there's always a lot of contemporary. We know that. We know there's going to be jazz and some hip hop.
Yeah.
But when they bring her in, or when they bring in Nakul for Bollywood, it's a shot of adrenaline that I always love and appreciate.
Well, and it's cool too, because Bollywood, I've never even stepped foot into that, and Nakul is such a genius at what he does, and it's cool for dancers to be exposed to that, because it is out there, and there are I had to do Bollywood on a job, and I was grateful that I had a little kick in the butt by Nakul on the show, but I think it's cool for the world to see those other styles as well, because they're just as cool as a contemporary or a hip hop number, I think.
Yeah, and I think sometimes people don't appreciate what So You Think You Can Dance has done, because we just have this generic, it's hip hop, but there's so many different styles that have been brought to the forefront because of the show, whether it's popping and locking. I was just talking to a voguer today, and I was like, gosh, it'd be so cool to have a voguer on the show. We haven't really seen that. And animators, I mean, it's really incredible. Instead of just going, this is hip hop, it's just a blanket, dance style. It's way more than that.
Absolutely. It's, and who's to say what's hip hop, what's not anymore, because everyone has kind of taken a base and melded it into their own thing, and I think that's what artistry is about, is creating your own thing and putting it out into the world and hoping, that people like it. And if they don't, that's okay too,
We see hip hop in ballroom all the time on Dancing with the Stars. I see a couple moves thrown in there because they're like, my contestant can do this and it's going to make them look good, so let's do it.
Right, yeah. Oh my gosh. Well, and then trying to help someone who doesn't know how to dance at all is a whole challenge in its own.
Yes.
It's tough. I've assisted people with actors or singers who have no movement, and it's like you have to really start exploring what you know to make sure that they look amazing.
Right. Because it's a reflection of your work too, what you're doing. So it's so important. So on your season, you make it all the way to top 4. What was that final episode like? Because it's really big when you're there and you're in the final 4.
I couldn't believe I was there. I did not know that I would make it that far. Rehearsals were crazy. I think we did 6 or 7 numbers, and so we were in rehearsals from morning to night and just like running on empty. And pushing through because we're like,
any injuries? Because they come to the forefront at this time.
I had prior injuries. I have ruptured discs in my back from when I was 15, so those started acting up with the constant dancing, but I was too afraid to say anything, so I just like...
It's such a dancer thing.
I mean, yeah, we're trained to, unless you're dying, you know, keep pushing through, and
even
I was
if you're
like,
bleeding.
I don't want to be eliminated, you know, so I was just like, it's fine, you know, and I would take care of it on my own time and stuff, but I had that for sure. My back was definitely bothering me, but the show was way too important to, you know, say anything.
So true.
Yeah. But that was another incredible experience. Our finale was it was the Kodak at the time. So it was an epic finale. You know?
I forgot they did it at the Kodak.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's when they showed the new stage, which now is different again. But, so we debuted the new stage. We were at the Kodak. The audience was full. You know, my whole family was down there, my dance teachers, and, it was crazy for anyone who has not been on that stage is ginormous. And so to walk out there when they're like, Kayla, and you're just like in this space of all these lights, a huge audience, it's unexplainable, the feeling.
Yeah, and for people that haven't seen the Kodak, which is now the Dolby Theater where the Oscars are, there are 2 mezzanines above it. So you have the orchestra, which you can see on TV, but then there's the 2 other layers. I think it's about 3,500 seats altogether. It's a big venue.
It's huge, yeah.
It's amazing. And it was built for TV, so it looks big on TV. Mm-hmm. That's the other thing I love about that theater. And then you go on tour, which, you know, I know for everyone that goes on tour, there was like, it was the best time. It was like college. It was everything. Okay. Was that experience like that for you?
I think the actual performing and going out on a tour where the tour is about you guys, they're there to see you. They're not there. You're not dancing behind an artist. You're not dancing behind someone. They're actually there to see. It was us. Was quite an epic feeling, because, you know, you walk out into these arenas and you have fans out there that have followed you through the whole show, and they know your story, and then you go and meet them after the show, and they know this or they want to tell you that, and it's just like, holy cow, you don't realize how much you affect and touch people's lives through this show until you step out and get a chance to talk to them and be surrounded by that. And that's so special. That's what it's all about, right? Is entertaining people and putting them through an experience, or taking them away from an experience and letting them fly for a second. And, you know, that's the most special part. I think that was the best part about tour is meeting the fans and kind of seeing how you affected them.
And tour at the time, I think they're at smaller venues now, but you guys were doing some really big theaters, arenas, things like that.
Yeah, it was huge. I remember in Colorado was really epic, because my family, all my friends, my studio owner, all the teachers were there, and it's like that was pretty cool. We were in a big ice arena, and it was amazing.
That's so great.
Yeah.
Here's what I want to know, and this is just going back to the show, it just made me think. I talked to some contestants, and they're always like, I wasn't myself on So You Think You Can Dance, so don't judge me for that, which I think is really interesting, and I've heard it from more than one contestant. They were like, I just wasn't myself, I was nervous, I think I could have done better. Do you feel that? Because you came in 4th, so that's a really high placement.
It is an extremely high placement. I like I've said 100 times, I did not expect it. I think that, of course, there's nerves, and like I was 18, so it was my first time being in front of a bunch of cameras and interviews and stuff like that. So I think I definitely have become more comfortable with it. So I maybe was a little nervous and not as like open and fun and friendly as I could be now. But I think that comes with age and experience. You know, I was not used to that at all. I was used to being on stage. I think my best foot forward was definitely on stage, and I put all my work into it, and I don't regret anything. I would go back and do the show in a heartbeat. I mean, as I did when they called me for an all-star, I was like, yes, finally, you know. But I think that I did the absolute best that I could at that time, you know. And I go back, I told you, I go back and look at my interviews, and I'm like, oh my goodness, you know.
So they're so cute, though. They're really cute.
Well, thank you. But I'm just like, oh, I shouldn't have said that, or I could, I didn't explain that. But, that's life. We're only human. And I think that we all do the best that we can when we're put in a situation where we're thrown on live TV and people are judging us.
So true. Every week is someone's judging it. It's one of those things, we've talked a lot about contestants and things like that. Like they could have done better. Why didn't they do that? But there's so many things that play into a live show: nerves, injuries, fatigue. Sometimes you don't get along with the choreographer. Like, you just, not that you hate them or anything, but you just don't jive. Like, it's oil and water, and it happens.
Yeah.
Or you and your partner aren't having a good week. There's so many things that come into play that are so beyond your control sometimes.
Well, and America and the audience don't see any of that. They don't know what happened prior to your actual show, what happened during dress rehearsal, So it's all a matter of their imagination. They can create whatever they want out of what they see, what's put in front of them.
Yeah, and that is absolutely true. And, some seasons we've had a little bit of feedback from the choreographers. Like, the judges are like, we talked with so-and-so, and they think you're really great. I wish they would do that more, because I think they get a real feel for who the contestant is versus just like what's happening on the stage. Because sometimes people's rehearsal room etiquette and work ethic is a reason to keep them on the show, so that they can grow. And then other times people aren't working as hard, and maybe they either need to be pushed to say, hey, we're thinking about letting you go because you're not working hard enough in rehearsals.
Yeah, well, and that's so important just as a dancer in general, because the industry it's big but small, and people talk, and they if you're not being kind in rehearsals, or even to an assistant or the costuming people, they all talk. I've seen costume people go, or makeup people go to the choreographers and be like, don't bring that dancer back because they had an attitude or this or that. And so I'm really grateful. My family always raised me, respect everyone that's around you, because you never know who they know, what they're doing, what they're involved in, and and there's no reason to treat people with disrespect or to not work hard. You're there. You're competing on a show that you want to be on, right? So why would you not put your best foot forward?
And it's interesting because you see people talk. It makes its way back to even me, and sometimes I'm like, I can't believe, isn't that crazy?
Oh my gosh!
I sit there and I think, I know this about this contestant. I want to send him a text like, dude, like, work harder, because
stop doing that.
Stop doing that, because you're going to get voted off because the choreographers are all talking and stuff like that. Or I hear great things. Like, I always go back to this one reference, but season 10, Jenna Johnson, she got, when they had judges saves, she got saved several weeks in a row. And I think people in the audience were like, what's going on? And I'm like, let me tell you why. The choreographers are like, that girl gives 110% in that rehearsal room. She deserves to be here, and we're just going to keep on pushing her through.
Yeah. It's so true. I mean, that's part of the battle is making sure the choreographer is happy, and, making sure they're pleased with what's happening, because it's their work that you're putting on stage.
Yeah, absolutely, because it's a reflection of them all the time.
Yeah. And they're going to be hiring you in the future.
Yes, they are.
They will remember.
They will absolutely remember. And if you look, and I don't know if a lot of people know this, unless you're kind of like here in the dance world, but oftentimes choreographers have their like group or their stable of dancers that they love to use over and over again, as long as you guys are available, which is great when you have a great reputation. You're working with choreographers all the time. But if you're not in that stable, or if you're not that person that's always going to step up and have a great attitude and give 100%, you miss out on a lot of opportunities.
Right. Yeah, that's why, anytime I've worked with a new choreographer, I always will put my best foot forward. I do that all the time. It's important to me. It's my career. It's what I love to do. So it's not hard for me to go in there and enjoy what's happening, but it's so important, because they do, and you create these relationships, and they want to bring you back if you work hard and do what they need, and that's really important to me, is to have good relationships aside from just working. I don't want to just work and not have any great relationships. I want to have that family feeling and want them to come back and rely on me over and over again.
And I think what makes a great point to that, and we've had such a big year with it, La La Land is the greatest example of a choreographer being grateful to dancers who have been there for her over and over again, and that is Mandy Moore. And she was able to not only get people on the film, but she was able to get them the Grammys, the Golden Globes, Oscars.
Oh, she's the best. Mandy's one of my favorites. Mandy, I love you.
We all love Mandy. I was just with her.
I know. I'm working with her starting tomorrow.
For Dancing with the Stars finale.
Yes, yeah. She's great. And she brought me in on the Grammys and the Oscars. And I was like, oh my gosh, Mandy. She's incredible. She always has everything together. She knows exactly what she wants. She doesn't waste your time, and she relies on her dancers. She's really good to her people, and she only brings in people that she trusts and knows is going to do their job, because it's a reflection of her and her work, and she wants to handle it and get it done.
Yeah, and even watching her today work with 100 dancers, she was relying on some of the all-stars. Can't say who they are right now, but people that have great knowledge in ballroom or in tap and things like that, where she was like, I need a little move here. What do you think? And she would ask them because she trusts them. And, it's a collaborative process. And I think that that's really important to her, because she understands, like, this is a really big moment. This is a big year for dance. And, we feel it here in LA. I don't know if everyone feels it like across the country in the same way we do, but we've got World of Dance coming out, and that is big, expensive show, guys. Huge. It's $1 million prize. It's expensive. It has J-Lo on it.
I mean, yeah, that's true.
Let's just be honest. True. You got J-Lo. You just know it's expensive. But NBC's throwing a lot of money and promotion behind it. Of course, So You Think is back. It's back to the old format we love. Dancing with the Stars just got 2-season pickup order. But also what's happening here in LA, the TV Academy created a peer group for choreographers. Yeah. This is like a moment where choreographers are a thing and dancers are a thing. And we're like, you guys need to have the same protections and everything else that actors have. I have it. I'm like, I'm under SAG-AFTRA, and choreographers have no union right now.
Right. It's crazy. It's
crazy.
Because they are the reason we have jobs and the reason artists have brilliant shows. And, I'm glad that people are starting to recognize the work that choreographers do, because without them, we would be doing nothing.
Yeah. And 100% of the reason, well, not 100%, but it was a group effort. But Mandy Moore is part of that reason it's at the TV Academy. Nigel was. Derek Huff, I know, helped out. There was a lot of people. Kat Burns is in the mix. It's amazing what they did, and have all these meetings and at Nigel's house to be like, he said, I plied him with wine, so you guys need to organize.
You need to do something.
You need to do something. He's all about dance. He loves dance. You don't have to agree with him on the judges panel, but at the end of the day, you have to understand he loves dance.
Yeah, he does. And that's most important,
So how do we get you back on as an all-star?
I don't know. That's a great question.
Obviously not for season 14, but how can we get you back in the mix?
I don't know. Should we start a petition?
Start an online petition. Okay, I heard a rumor. Can you clear up this rumor and say maybe it was true or not? It's actually a good rumor. Okay. I heard that you were like, if one of the females was not able to be an all-star this season, that you might have stepped in.
I mean, I would, if, of course, absolutely.
That's what I heard. Had they contacted you?
No, they haven't talked to me.
I mean, everyone is set in they've already signed their contracts, but I had heard that I'll tell you who it was off camera, but I'm like, because I'm not allowed to. Fox called me personally, you guys, by the way, and said, I know you know all the All-Stars, do not reveal them.
Oh my gosh. Don't say who it is.
Don't say who it is. They know I'm full of spoilers all the time. And I of course, I'm happy. If they ask, I'm happy to do that for them.
Of course. But that is so funny.
That's a good rumor, though, right?
That's a great rumor. Obviously, I've told Jeff and them, they're my family. It was one of my first things I ever did professionally, and I always tell them if they ever need anything, I'm there always. That show gave me so many opportunities and opened so many doors for me. So why would I not go back? And it's amazing when I did go back the one season, to help the new dancers who are going through it, and to kind of guide them and be like, I've been through this, I know what's going on, I know what you're feeling, and be a support for them, as well as trying to help guide them is really special as well, because the younger kids are the future as well, and one day they'll be working with us, and,
yes, they will.
So I always tell them, if you need me at all, I'm there in a heartbeat. And, and I always joke with them, like, well, even if you don't bring me back as an all-star, I'm always there, because, I come in and I'll assist choreographers, and I'm around, So.
You're around a lot, actually.
Yeah.
People are like, oh, Kayla's assisting Jamal Sims, or I hear that a lot, like, she's around.
Yeah, I always stick my foot in there, I'm like, Jeff, you can't get rid of me.
And this is Jeff Thacker we're talking about,
yes.
The executive producer, and, he's like Big Papa Bear to everyone.
He is. He's the greatest. He's a tough cookie, and you never know. Everyone's always like, oh my gosh, it's Jeff, but he's got such a soft heart and a kind heart, and he realistically just wants the best for all of us, because we're like his kids, and And he's the greatest. So yeah, Jeff, I'm always there.
Okay, maybe I'll pull him aside this season. He'll
There
be
you
like,
go.
this girl. I know, when I saw him at LA auditions, I was laughing so hard because I saw his face when he saw that I was the next person who was interviewing him, and he was like, oh, the spoiler girl.
Uh-oh, do you give a lot of spoilers?
Well, here's the problem. It's not a problem. It's a great thing. I have developed a nice working friendship with Nigel, and he has given me some spoilers. And he's like, you're free to do it. And then Jeff is like, Nigel, what are you doing? And then Fox is calling me like, what?
Why did you say that?
No, this is actually true, too. I went to an event, and it was a school event, and it was over at the music center, and always Nigel supporting arts and education. He's amazing. And he was talking, and he's like, Mary Murphy's coming back. And I was like, can I tweet that? And he's like, I don't care what you do, just tweet it. He's like, I'm gonna get us both in trouble. And I'm like, Mary Murphy's coming back. and Fox was making the announcement like 3 days later, and I was like,
no.
I'm gonna be in so much trouble.
You're like, thanks, Nigel.
Yeah, but I was like, I got the scoop. And and Vanessa Hudgens was the audition judge.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
They're trying to sign her as the third judge, by the way.
Oh, really?
Yes,
That's
they're
awesome.
still in contract negotiations, but they are definitely trying to get her. So.
Okay, I'm excited to watch her judging the auditions and see what she has to say.
She was good. She was honest and open,
Okay.
which I think is appreciated, but she was kind about it.
Okay.
Again, something that you do need. And I do like it when people offer constructive criticism, like, this wasn't your best week. Let me tell you why. Go back to the studio and work on this.
Well, I mean, that's part of it, because you can't grow as an artist without critiques and help and knowledge. We're continuously learning and growing, and I think that's so important. So I'm always like panting for like a correction or direction, because it only can make you better.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it is true, and it's like sometimes I don't see that on shows like Dancing with the Stars, and I get it, it's celebs and things like that, but I'm like, give them one note, one really helpful note that they will all understand, and that they can go back to the rehearsal studio and go, oh, I get it, I need to stretch my arms, like whatever that simple little correction is, because I think instead of just going, that was great, it was amazing, it doesn't help them in the long run, especially if they're a contender and they're going to make it through to the finale.
Yeah, I mean, I think any artist should always want some helpful criticism and whatnot, because, like I said, you can't go up if you're constantly being told it's great, you kind of plateau. So I think it's really important to constantly be growing and learning and being open to it, because I know some people, like, you'll get a critique and it feels like you're getting smashed down into the ground, and so you have to learn how to also take the critique and their thoughts, because it's important, and overall it's anyone's opinion, but you can always pull from things and take from each person that has something to say.
Absolutely. And I always think the delivery of the comment should also be approached with sensitively, but you should also learn how to take the comment.
Right.
It's a balance that you have to learn as an artist. It's not easy.
No, it's not, but it's part of our job.
It's part of the job. How about, like, I always find this interesting because everyone gets off tour and you've just been a total rock star. What happens? Like, what's next? Like, did you know right away, like, I'm going to move to LA and I'm going to do this? 'Cause there's a lot of all of a sudden you're like, now you're thrown into the talent pool of every other dancer in LA once tour is over.
Yeah. It's a shift. I mean, you come off of a TV show, doing everything that you ever dreamed of doing. You're getting to use the training that you grew up training, since I was 2, to its fullest extent, and really putting yourself out there, and people are getting to see what you do. And then, I knew I wanted to come to LA. So I think we got done with tour at the end of November, I want to say. So I went home, and I remember I got called for one of my first jobs, which were the Oscars. And it was the year that Adam Shankman was directing, and LXD was doing a whole performance, and he had asked me to do it. And I was like...
So wait, you get off tour, and your first job in LA is the Oscars?
Yeah. I know. My mind was blown. And it's still to this day, one of my favorite jobs I've ever done.
That's kind of amazing.
Yes. And I was forever grateful to Adam for that, because, without him, that's where I met him, was on the show. So without the show, I would have never met him. And
He keeps a binder. I don't know if you know this. He keeps a binder of his favorite dancers. Did you know that? And like when
No.
yes. So when he pulls for like movies,
That's amazing.
I know. I love telling people to scoop like this. And so when he like pulls for movies, he'll be like, okay, so for this movie, this person would be perfect. He's got like their headshots, their
Oh my
resumes.
gosh.
Yeah. And he has his favorites from So You Think years and all the other shows that he's done and movies. So you were in his binder.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. It was incredible. So I knew that I wanted to come out here. So when I did get that call, I was like, that's the reason I'm making it happen. And I told my mom, I was like, I have to go. I'm going to go. And she said, my family was always so supportive. They always encouraged me to follow my dreams and do what I wanted to do. So they were helpful, and they're like, all right, do it. Let's make it happen. And so after tour, right after Christmas, it was New Year's Day, I drove out here.
Oh my gosh.
New Year's Day, I drove out
New
here.
Year.
Yeah, New Year.
Challenges.
Happy New Year, yeah. And it is, you have to come off the show with the right attitude and knowing that, yes, you were on this incredible show and you had this incredible experience, but then you are in a pool of thousands of dancers. And there are so many talented dancers that don't get on the show that are out here working already, So you have to keep a level head and know that you have to come out here and work your butt off and work just as hard as you did on the show, because sometimes there's people who don't care that you were on the show.
Right. There are plenty of people that don't care.
Yeah, and so like that, you can't ride and coast just on that. Of course, it's been so helpful, and there are people that are like, oh my God, you were on So You Think, and it opens so many doors for me. But you still have to keep a level head and know that you're not any better than any other dancer that's out here.
And it's interesting too, because I think some contestants get a little lost in the time after tour. They don't know what to do, and they flounder for a while. I've seen other contestants though that didn't do so well in the show, and then they thrive. They still come out to LA. They still have the motivation to do it. Teddy Coffey to me was someone that probably could have. I love Teddy. But he's had an incredible career post So You Think, and I think he probably could have done better at on the show. But he said, I didn't feel like myself. I felt nervous all the time. I didn't perform my best.
Yeah.
But he's obviously performing really well in auditions.
I mean, apparently he's working. He's on the
Backstreet
show
Boys,
right
yeah,
now.
in Vegas.
Yeah, I mean, and it's funny. It's kind of like kids who take tests, and there's kids that are really great at tests, and kids that like go down a deep hole when they take a test, And I think it's kind of the same thing, because we're thrown into this experience. We have no idea what we're doing. We don't know what's going to happen. The nerves are insane, and you're kind of at the mercy of a television show, So of course some people are going to thrive and some people are going to just like get washed away. And I think that doesn't mean that they're not capable of having an incredible career. Like you said, Teddy is doing incredible things.
Great. He did the Val and Max tour, I think the summer before. It's just, I see him constantly working, and I'm like, this is awesome.
Yeah.
Because you can't let the show define you either way, as a winner, or, as a finalist, or as someone that, Tony Bellissimo, first one off. Brittany Cherry, first one off. Guess what? She's on Dance with the Stars. Like,
right.
You can't.
I think you just it's an experience, and it's a learning experience overall, and you can take something from it no matter what your experience is, whether you get to the very end or you go home right away. You still have a lot to learn, and you meet a lot of people. I mean, Jeff Thacker taught us a lot. The choreographers taught us a lot. So it's you just have to take from it what you can get and like suck all of it in, and then make your own decisions and learn and grow from that.
Makes a lot of sense. Let's talk about that first Oscars, because I don't think people realize, and you're from a small town in Colorado. I'm from small town Massachusetts. I've covered the Oscars, the red carpet, backstage, and it is one moment in time in Hollywood that I will never get tired of, and it's one moment in time that I still get overwhelmed by. And I've covered like almost 10 Oscars, and I know it's a lot, but it's so magical, and I don't even know how to explain it. It's a long day. It's a long week for you guys in terms of rehearsal. But what was that very first year when you were like on that stage? Was it the Kodak still at the time?
It was the Kodak.
It was still at the Kodak.
Yeah. Insane. I remember I walked out on stage, and Meryl Streep is one of my idols. And I walked on stage, and I'm like, okay, get ready to perform. And I stand in my spot, and she was literally 4 feet in front of me. And I was like, oh my God.
What do I do?
Oh my gosh. It's surreal. That's the best way to describe the Oscars, is you're in the presence of these, these people that you either look up to or have watched on the big screen for years and years and years, and directors and creators, like all these people in our industry, and they're all sitting there watching you perform, and I've done the Oscars. La La Land was my third time, and it doesn't, like you said, it doesn't get old. It's a new experience every time.
Yeah, and what you just said, it was the funniest thing, because I'm always like, it's everyone you've ever watched in the movies, and they're all in the same place. They're all right there in front of you. You're like, there's Leonardo DiCaprio, Meryl Streep, John Legend, and Chrissy Teigen are here. Like, you're just, your brain is totally trying to process it. And I'm like, look, I'm an entertainment reporter. I do this for a living.
Right.
And I don't get very starstruck, but Oscar season always just overwhelms me each and every year. I'm like, oh my gosh.
Yeah, it's just a whole other world. I don't, it's exactly what you said. So hard to explain, but so special.
Yeah. My first year I did it too. I was like, how did I get here? How did I get here? I was like standing on, what am I doing? And it was that year The Fighter was nominated, which is, my mother was born in Lowell, Massachusetts. I was too, actually. And it's a tiny town, but the movie was based in there. And I spoke to the screenwriter, and he's like, I've been crying my whole way in the limo. I'm like, I'm crying with you, because I'm like, this is like my first year. You're nominated. This is crazy. What are we doing here? We're from like blue collar Massachusetts.
What's happening?
I know.
And that movie was brilliant.
Yes, they hit an incredible,
oh my gosh,
incredible film. So it really is things that are so overwhelming, and so overwhelming to just like experience. So I hope they continue with dance in
I hope so too.
The show.
It's so cool. It's so great.
It went away for a long time. Like Debbie Allen used to do it for forever in the 80s, and then the 90s it just disappeared, and now I feel like it's back. It's back. You've worked on lots of TV shows, films. Footloose, I've got to say, that probably was a really fun one to work on.
It was so fun. I mean, and Jamal, working with Jamal at
I love him.
any point, he's like one of the best.
He's a ball of sunshine. I don't know if people realize that, but he's so positive.
Yeah. Like, it's always a good time. He's always so uplifting. He wants to keep the environment great and happy and fun and still get work done. But he's so fun to work with. I just spent a few weeks with him. I was assisting him with all the Step Up auditions.
Yes, which is going to YouTube, guys. I don't know if everyone knows that.
Yeah.
So when is that coming out? Do you know?
I'm not sure when it comes out. I know they start rehearsals tomorrow.
That's exciting. I actually think, for some reason in my head, it's like either late August or early September, something like that, because I think they might be doing some things with National Dance Day, maybe.
That would
I had
make
heard
sense.
a little,
That would make sense.
nice little tie-in, which would be kind of awesome. But I love the fact that Step Up has continued beyond just the films.
Me too. And I got a chance to look at the script, and the script is really great. They have some like really like deep human things that people actually go through, and I love it. And they have a great cast going on or happening, and I just think it's awesome that it's still continuing, and there's still a fan base that appreciates it. And I mean, I hope the TV show continues on for a long time. And
I love that. The thing that the house that like Channing Tatum and Jenna Dewan Tatum built, and they're married.
And they're married, and
Magic Mike,
amazing.
she's got World of Dance.
Yeah, what a life.
Is she affiliated with Step Up? I know she was at the auditions or something.
Yes, I think she's one of the producers on it, or something like that. Please don't quote me on that, but
I know that she and her husband have been doing tons of producing, and they're doing a lot of like dance properties, which I think is awesome.
Amazing. I mean, she was a dancer.
I know, and I love that. My other favorite is that she comes in, I remember this a couple years ago for Dizzy Feet Gala. She's like, I just threw together a number with Travis Wall, and we did a duet, and they rehearsed for like 2 days, and they did it on stage, and then they did it, of course, in the finale. But I was like, if I went up there after not dancing for like a year
crazy,
or whatever,
right?
I feel like I can't move.
You're like in a bed for a week.
Yeah. So incredible. What was it like? Because I know you've worked on a lot of TV shows, and I think TV shows are very, very different. They're at much faster pace than working on film with dance. Like, what is that like coming in and doing a show like Glee? Or I know you've done Parks and Rec. Like,
it's fast, it's quick, it keeps you on your toes because everything's constantly changing. Even like with Dancing with the Stars, we go in for Mandy for the finale, and there's 6 numbers, and you have an hour to learn each one, and then you're thrown into it, and you're running down the street for a quick change, and like it's insane, and it keeps you on your toes. And I think that's one of my favorite things about TV is it's constantly changing, and you're in a different environment and different things all the time. So you never have a chance to get bored with what you're doing. But it's quick paced. And I remember when I did X Factor, there was one time where the choreographer came back, Tucker Barkley, he came back and he was like, so I need your side to reverse the entire number. Simon's going to be in here in 3 minutes. And Simon was a stickler. Like, he would just cut numbers, like cut dancers.
If he didn't like it, yeah.
Reverse the whole number, 3-minute number. And we were like, right now? And he was like, yeah. And I was like, okay.
And that's where you have to rely upon your dancer training and your instincts of like, I've got this, don't panic.
Yeah, and just constantly train and keep your brain going and growing, because you never know what they're going to throw at you, and sometimes it's on live TV.
Oh my gosh. And people don't realize too, like that's why class is so important, and taking a variety of classes and keeping that muscle memory going. Yeah. Because if you don't use it, you lose it. And especially dance, I find you lose it very quickly. Like a week out of dance class, your body feels it when you go in that next week.
Well, and you never believe when, people are like, just wait till you're older. It's not going to be that easy. It's not going to feel that good. And you start getting older and you're like, wait, this doesn't feel good anymore.
You get up in the morning and you're like, wait a minute.
My back hurts, So it's like, you have to constantly keep going and training your body, because it does. It stiffens up, and your body doesn't want to put your leg behind its ear anymore,
I know. I always like all those contemporary dancers with their Beyond 180 extension, things like that. I'm like, kids, your hips are going to hurt.
Oh my gosh.
In ways you don't even know. But I also think I feel like dancers are starting to get smarter about training in some ways, where I know for me, when I was dancing, I would just dance through the pain. I don't care. Like, bone chips in my ankle, let's dance on Pointe. No big deal.
Right.
But I think now people are more open to using acupuncture, massage, better food quality. Like, don't starve yourself, kids. Like, it's not a great idea.
Right. Yeah. You have to value your body. Your body is your vessel as a dancer. That this is what you have, So you have to treat it right and treat it like it's your diamond that you're holding on to. So you have to put the right foods into it. You have to keep it taken care of. Go to the doctor if you have an injury. Get it checked out. Don't just let it go, because that's going to be terrible in the long run, and go get a massage here and there, or acupuncture, or whatever helps. I went to a chiropractor for the first time, and it was magical.
I love those. I go,
my gosh.
And she's always like, I walk unevenly sometimes, like one leg is longer than the other. And she's like, what? How have you not been walking in circles? And I'm like, she's like, but I'm still flexible from my dance years. And she's like, it's ridiculous. Your body adapts in ways. So as dancers, sometimes you don't even realize, like, I'm probably limping, but I've adapted, so I'm not.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. So it is so important to take care of your vessel.
Yes. And when they crack your neck, you're like, that was such a good release.
I can stand up straight again.
Yeah. You're like, I'm 4 inches taller. So amazing. Now, I know you've been talking a lot about assisting choreographers. Mm-hmm. Are you going to step up to choreographer? Do you think that that's something that you really want to pursue? Because it's very specific, choreography.
It is very specific. I think that I really enjoy assisting right now and learn. I feel like I still have so much to learn.
You're young.
From these I work with some incredible choreographers who know what they're doing and have worked on so many different things, and I feel like I want to continue growing and learning from them, so that eventually maybe I could do that. But I just feel so lucky to be in the presence of people like Nick and RJ, like Jamal, Marguerite Derricks, just like some of the greatest people in the world, Brian Friedman. There's so many people and they're all so different, so you get to pick and pull and learn and
like this, I'm going to pull this from Brian. I like how he works this way, or this works great, and sort of making notation for choreography, because that's a whole beast. People don't understand.
Well, and then you can build your own and be an individual with tastes of all the things that you've learned, So
and Mandy's genius choreographing for the camera. I don't know if people appreciate how good she is at it.
I don't think they have any idea. And she's so good, and she does this thing where she screenshots. She'll film the video, and then she'll take screenshots and be like, hey, you need to look here, or you need to do this, or you're off here. And it's like, it's one of the most brilliant things a choreographer has ever done, because you visually are seeing what's happening and you see what the camera sees, So she's incredible at that.
She'd be the teacher, the eyes in the back of the head. I know what you're doing. Like, turn that head.
Oh, she could have her eyes closed and she would know you missed this time.
She's got it. She's got it. That's really amazing.
Yeah.
Dance has changed, and it's moved in such a rapid pace, I think, the last decade. If you were talking with someone that's on So You Think this season, and they finish up, what advice would you give them about coming to LA and what they need to do to really hit the ground running?
Work hard. Don't be lazy. Never say no to something. So if there's a challenge put in front of you, take on the challenge. Don't stop yourself from growing or pushing and being able to, because you can achieve it. If you work for it and you want it, you can achieve it. So never say, no, I can't do that. Let yourself try and work hard and not give up on something that you really want, because you're capable of a lot, and it just takes hard work and perseverance.
What about, and I found this really interesting going to the LA auditions, like a lot of dancers were like, oh, I didn't know I needed to do this type of dance. I'm like, there's YouTube kids, like this is what your audition should sort of look like. It should be your own, but to just, one girl did, which I thought was so fascinating, but she made it through, by the way, because they put her through to choreography, and I saw her at Academy today, and I was like, look at that, they gave her a chance. But she looked like a backup dancer for a singer, where they do very simple steps, and that was her sort of dance. And they were like, can you dance though? Like, because you were just kind of doing some twirls, and it looked like we needed a big fan, and like your hair was gonna blow. But I and I'm glad that obviously she can dance because she looks great out there at Academy. But I'm thinking, why aren't people going to YouTube? Like, you have a library right there in front of you.
I mean, we're so spoiled nowadays with social media. We can find anything and everything. And so, yeah, as a dancer, if you're, especially for So You Think, I would look and study everything from the show and all the different styles that are out there, and then find those people or people that taught those people and learn and suck as much as you can out of those people, because you want to go in there with the most behind you that you can, so you're not put in front of something that you don't know what to do, or be smart and know how to, when it's put in front of you, know how to pull and pull and pull until you have what you need.
Yeah, and I mean, because it's really important. Sometimes I just think people are missing the dance history aspect. There are so many people that came before us, and paved the path for you to be here, and you should be knowing who these choreographers are, and especially if you're going on the show, make sure you've studied Mandy Moore's choreography, who's on every, Spencer Liff is on every season, Nappy Tabs, like make sure these names roll off your tongue really easily. Jean-Marc Genero, because you're going to get something big and theatrical from him. It's not going to be like a quiet little piece. It's going to be dramatic.
Have you seen him talk?
He's like this. And you should be prepared for that, because I feel like sometimes I'm like, you guys, you need to be mentally prepared for walking into a room with Jean-Marc. It's going to be big energy. I know, like, Stacey Tookey has like aromatherapy candles, and you can be like chill and mellow and ease into it. Just different.
Just be familiar with what you're about to be thrown into.
Yep.
As much as you can. Obviously, there's no way to really know what's going to happen. You never really know. You can't predict it, but at least be aware and knowledgeable of what you're getting yourself into.
Yeah, that's always, knowledge is power, and I think that's the one thing sometimes I see dancers missing, and I'm like, but the information's right there on your iPhone, or it's on your laptop.
That's attached to your hand.
Yeah, that you've been like sitting there for hours, like Instagramming and. How about for you? Like, what 5 years from now, what's sort of next? Because I know you've been doing a lot of acting as well.
That is the goal. I will always dance. Dance is my first love. I want to be able to dance until I'm 100 years old, if my body allows me to, so that is always in my heart. So I will continue to dance and do that all the time. I would love to start acting and being in movies and TV. That's my dream. My big goal is to do that, and maybe attend the Oscars one day on the other side.
On the other side,
which would be so crazy. But yeah, acting. I've been focusing on that, and I've been doing things here and there, and also creating your own content while you're auditioning and trying to create relationships, making stuff so people can see what you can do, and same thing with dancing. Training and learning and studying history and studying actors that you like. I have a mentor, and we will write down actresses and people that I love, that I would like to pull things from or learn from, and studying their films and stuff like that. So yeah, acting, movies, TV, and hopefully there will be tons more of La La Land type movie musicals.
Can you sing?
Where I can carry a tune.
Okay.
Yes. And I mean, that's, as long as you can carry a tune, you can make anything happen.
You can make some magic.
Yeah, but movie musicals, what a dream that would be, to be able to act and dance and sing,
Oh yeah, I mean, that is just like such a dream. I have this like dream in my head that like MGM musicals will just make a huge comeback, or that style.
I would be obsessed with that.
Hoping that La La Land at least ushers that in, but also a lot of the live TV events we've been seeing have sort of ushered that in, and we've got a lot coming. A Christmas Story, Rent is coming, all live on TV between NBC and Fox and Jesus Christ Superstar. They are just like, they're competing, the two networks. They're just like, we're going to do this. But I think
that's amazing.
Yeah, I'm really excited about that. And just to see, and they're not doing it just like in December. Some of them, Jesus Christ Superstar is coming for Easter. So it's going to be springtime. We're going to have this kind of year round, which creates more work for everyone, including myself. So I'm happy to cover it.
Right. You're like, let's go.
Let's do it, you guys. Like, they don't understand. I'm like, I'm so happy about it. And Dirty Dancing comes out in a couple of weeks on
I'm
ABC.
excited to see that.
Yep. I watched it. It's a different feel from the movie. I think that's one thing. And, you know, you can never replace Jennifer Grey and Patrick Swayze. Patrick. I will say, and I can't think of his name right off the top of my head, but the actor that steps into the Patrick Swayze role, I thought did a really good job. He's got his own swag, and, you know, he's got his own thing going on, and his dancing was great. So I think people will be happy about that. Yes. Well, thank you so much for joining me. This is kind of our like initial pilot episode. I know.
Awesome. No, this is great.
It's so much fun. Yeah. Tell us where everyone can find you if they're looking for you, social media and everything.
You can find me on Instagram. It's just Kayla Radomski with the number 4 at the end, because someone else also has my name. Same with Twitter.
Why did they do that?
Yeah. And then my Facebook is just Kayla Radomski.
Excellent. Well, we're looking forward to seeing what's next from you, which I know you have 1,000 things going on. And I'm going to start a season 15 All-Star campaign for you. Does that sound okay?
I'm so ready for it. Let's do it.
All right. You guys, thank you so much for joining us here at Dance Network on Popcorn Talk. I'm Kristyn Burtt. We will see you next time.
From producers Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and the entire Popcorn Talk Network, we would like to thank you for tuning in. For questions or comments, be sure to visit popcorntalk.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of the Popcorn Talk Network.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of the Popcorn Talk Network or its owners or principals.